this is a long story of where we are today and where we were in the past. And it's going to take you through and pretty much catch you up on what's happening with the real estate market. In 1998, the federal government deregulated banks. When they deregulated the banks were now allowed to be able to sell their notes and their deeds to another bank or to another entity. So let's assume it's 1998, I'm Countrywide Bank, and I now you take out a loan with me. I can take this loan and you sign papers that are a note and a deed. The note says I promise to pay you. The deed says if I don't pay you, here's my deed, you can take my property. If you also sign another piece of paper that's called an assignment that says you can assign this note and deed to anyone that you want to, and that's how this works. So I, as Countrywide, sign the assignment and give it to Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae takes my loan and pays me, Countrywide, all the money that was due. So I'm essentially out of the picture. Now, Fannie Mae takes the note and the deed that they have this assignment, and they assign the note back to me, Countrywide. And they say, would you service this note for us? And as a servicer, we'll pay you a monthly fee for collecting the money from the clients. Yeah, sure, sounds great. So then they assign the deed to Wall Street. And someone on Wall Street, Bear Stearns, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, any of the big firms, create these pools of money called securities that are securitizing this loan, giving Fannie Mae all the money that they gave Countrywide so that they can lend more money. Are you following this chain? So what's happened is you signed a note, you signed a deed, the note says I promise to pay you, if I don't, here's the deed, it's attached to the note. But what happened here is the note got separated from the deed and sent off to Wall Street. The note is in one location, the deed is in a different location, and they cannot be put back together. So what your note says is I promise to pay you, and now if I don't, too bad, you don't have the deed anymore. But that's not how the system worked, because there was another company that came out called MERS, Mortgage Electronic Registration Systems. And what they did is they recorded the original note and the deed, and anytime you went to court to foreclose or any kind of documents that you needed, MERS would spit out these documents and say, here's the note you signed, here's the deed you signed to Countrywide. Now, no mention is made of the assignment or the fact that it was sold to Fannie Mae and not Countrywide is not the holder anymore, and no fact that it was sold on Wall Street to 100,000 other people. So that's one issue. The other issue is, as time passes, it's now the year 2000. 100% of all the loans that are created, unless they're private money or a private institute, are securitized on Wall Street. So now, every loan that's created is sold, it's sold again, and goes to Wall Street. So, people listening, if you know that your loan has been sold several times, this is what happened. So now it's the year 2000, 2001 comes along, and interest rates start to fall. So if I bought these deeds in a security on Wall Street, I'm not too happy, because every time somebody refinances, they create a new note and a new deed, and my deed is worthless. So I'm not collecting anything on the appreciation in value or growth. So in order to make this work better, some geniuses on Wall Street said, how can we create loans with 3-year prepayment penalties so that when people refinance it, they won't refinance it so often, and the people who buy these securities will be able to keep them and make money. So they created loan programs like jumbo loans, subprime loans, Alt-A loans, no down payment loans, foreign national loans, investor loans, loans for people with stated income, loans for people with stated assets, loans for people who are over 18 who are breathing. So essentially, all these loan programs came out, and some of the loan programs had outrageous interest rates. Second mortgages at 17 or 18%. First mortgages with a 2 or 3% higher yield than normal loans, because all you had to do was just say, I want to buy a house, here's my signature. Now, who didn't know that those loans would never perform? If you give money to somebody who can't make the payment, how do you expect them to make the payment? And yet, that's what they did, because Countrywide, for example, sold the loan, they got paid. Fannie Mae sold the loan, they got paid. Somebody else sold the loan, they got paid. Wall Street paid them off, and the people on Wall Street made a ton of money because every time they securitized the loans, they made more money. And they could break them down into CMOs, CDOs, all kinds of unusual mortgage betting programs that allowed these loans to be sold for 5, even 10 times what the value was. So all these issues take place from 2000 to 2005, all these new loan programs come out. Now in Tucson, Arizona, where we are, the average price of a home went up 40% in 1 year in 2005. In 2006, it went up an additional 15%. So if you're looking at this, what you're seeing is values that are just skyrocketing, and people looking at it going, instead of sitting on the sidelines, if I just buy a house and it goes up 40% next year and I sell it, how can I go wrong? Even if it goes up 10% and I buy 5 houses, I'm a millionaire. So more and more people became caught up in the frenzy of buying property. Well, along comes 2007. Let's go back to 2005 for just a second. What we have here is a really simple economy thing, supply and demand. The supply of homes was like this. The demand to buy homes was like this. So what happens is, supply, demand, the price went up. Along comes 2007, and somehow, somewhere, a lot of these loans started defaulting and a light switch went off. And suddenly, one program disappeared, then another program disappeared, and then another program disappeared. And if you were in the mortgage business or in the real estate business, and you were bringing clients in, they couldn't qualify or they couldn't buy the house that they could previously. So, the market shut down. A lot of people saw this as a temporary glitch, that this is just going to be a temporary thing. And so, a lot of people had still this exuberance about the real estate market, still buying, still trying to do things. But the realists at companies like Goldman Sachs were creating securities that they bought at a discount from these companies that were going out of business, such as Countrywide, such as First Magnus. And they would buy these loans at a discount, then they would insure them with a company called AIG, and then that insurance is against default. Then they would sell them in securities, and while they were selling them in securities, they were short selling them, saying, it's probably not worth what we're selling them for. So if you buy them short, you'll make money. So they were short selling at the same time as they were retail selling, which is why they're having some issues today. So what happens is, example, the country of Iceland buys into this deal. They buy these mortgage-backed securities that were AAA rated. So here's the chain. AAA rated, government-backed because it's a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac thing, insured because it was insured by AIG, AAA rated because Goldman Sachs can AAA rate anything they want to because they're a ratings company, and then they go out and they sell these things, people bought them. The value plummeted. So you bought this stock and suddenly it's worthless. Now, they go to collect the insurance, but that's not insured for them, it's insured for Goldman Sachs. So Goldman Sachs goes to AIG and says, pay us the insurance money, and when they don't have the money, Goldman Sachs talks to the people in the White House and says, let's get a bailout for AIG so they can pay us. AIG gets bailed out and Goldman Sachs has the highest quarterly profit ever. So what we have here is a chain of where things went. And now these stocks are relatively worthless, these mortgage-backed securities, and all the derivatives that came from these mortgage-backed securities are not worth anything. So today, in 2010, not even the federal government will buy mortgage-backed securities.